吉光さん、
はい、
この像は昨日届いたみたいですか？
届いたのが4月の上旬で、ずっとここで寝っ転がったままだったんですね。なかなかこの狭いスペースにこれだけ大きくて重い観音様を立ち上げることができなかったんです。で、その技術を持ってる在日のベトナム人の業者さんたちが12日の日、
移動できなかったという意味ですか？そういうなんか立てるのができなかった。
もう立てるのを無理にやると、
はい、
お像が割れちゃったりするんですね、はい、重さがあるので、はい、だからすごく難しくて、はい、でそれをゆっくりゆっくり立ち上げて向きを変えて箱を壊して、ここにしかもこれ地震の対策のために下に棒が出ているんですね。その棒のところにこう差し込むようになったりするための、しかもここクレーンが入らないんですよ、大きいクレーンが。はい、そこは電線があって大きなクレーンが入らず、ここには藤棚があって中型クレーンも中に入らないので、特殊なクレーンしか中に入らないんです。でそれをできる在日のベトナム人の業者さんがやはり仏教徒で無償でこれを建ててくださったんです。それが、ギリギリで、この12日、今日14日ですから2日前にようやく立ち上がったばっかりなんです。
素晴らしい。それは時間的にどのぐらいかかりましたか？その建てるのが。
朝8時半から来て終わったのが12時前ぐらいでしたから、すごい時間かけてとっても丁寧に、いや決して傷つけないように本当に丁寧にやってくださいましたね。私も勉強になりました。一緒に見させてもらって、はい、日本の石屋さんもこの作業に関わって驚いてましたね。
ほぼね、その飾りができてね、緊張していますか？とか、
はい、なんか緊張してます。嬉しかったです。みんなと共に、観音様のなんか顔を見られたら嬉しいです。本当に。
この像はベトナムに作られた。
はい、ベトナムで作られたんですよね。
でもこの大理石が種類もあるんだよね。
はい、そうですね。
それを選んだりとか、あと観音様のお姿のこととかは全部明徳が連絡を取って現地の、ね、業者さんと。
ベトナムのダナンですね、はい、そこでなんか石がきれいなので、あそこの業者さんに頼みました。
重さどのぐらいですか？
高さは2メートル50、2メートル半ですね。で重さは2トン近くですね。
2トン
?2 トンですね。子供の頃、なんかお寺のこととか仏像のことは大好きでした。
仏像？
なんか昔から作られたなんか仏像見るの大好きです。はいはい。
どうでしたか？その仏像を送りたいという希望があったんですね。吉水さんがどうになりましたか？どう考えましたか？
正直うちは狭いのであんまり大きいと困るというふうに答えましたね。で去年の12月の19日に明徳君が得度式といってお坊さんになるための儀式を行ったんですね。でその際に、明徳君の方から、その明徳君の両親が、お父さんお母さんが何か仏像の寄付をしたいという話をしてくれてたんですね。それはありがたいけれど、あんまり大きいと困るよって言ってたんですが、そんなに大きくありませんという話だったんですけれど、とても大きくて、で、12月にですね作り始めて、1月中には届くという話だったんですが、なかなか届かずで、そのおかげでですね、どこに安置すればいいのかを考えて、今安置している場所にはもともと大きな他の岩とかがあったので、そういうものをどかす工事を行って、で、結局コンクリートを打ったりなんだりいろいろ時間がかかったので、ちょうど良かったのかもしれませんね。でもやっぱりあれだけ大きな仏像を寄付しようというのは日本人だとほとんどないことで、本当に驚きました。 東日本大震災のようなね大きな災害があった後はたくさんの地域で作られはしましたけれども、このように個人の出家の喜びをみんなで分かち合おうというようなことはすごく驚いたことですし、またもう一つは明徳自身が日本で日本の僧侶として出家をするということに大きな期待を皆さんが持ってくれてるんじゃないかと。日本の中で暮らす在日の外国人たちは決して楽な生活をしていないと思います。そういう苦しい思いをしている同胞たちのために力になってくれるんじゃないかっていう期待なんかもきっとあるんじゃないかなと思ってるんですけれどもね。
ちょっといいですけど、これ見せていいですか？
はい、いい。
あれ？もしかしたらカノンでしょうか？はい。It's only beautiful。これベトナムから持ってきた？
そうですよ。ベトナムです。
三愛というすべての世界のすべての霊にっていうふうに書いてあるんですね。でこの瀬垣という供養をするときには必ず使う
瀬垣、はいはい、
はい、で先にガキたちを、苦しみから救い出す法要をやって、そのガキたちが救われた功徳を使って縁のある人たちの供養をするんですね。そういう流れになっています。
今どんな印象ですか？このようなイベントとか見たことあります？
いや、なかなか自分も日本人で仏教なんですけど、こういうイベントってあんまり参加したことなかったんで、すごい新鮮ですね。楽しいです、いて。
ありがとう。
日本で作られたの観音様の像とかベトナムと形をちょっと違いますよね。
まあそうだね、少しね。いやでも原型とかすごい一緒だよでも。でも綺麗だよね、すごいね、立て上げる時も大変だったんですよ。 ああ、
重いですよ。
だもんね。
2トンぐらいあるから。
2トン
2トンぐらいあります。
それベトナムから持ってきたんでしょ？
そう、ベトナムから持ってきました。
すごいな。いや、いいっすね、大事ですよ。
今日こうして皆様と一緒に集まって手を合わせ祈りを捧げていきながら、本当の観音様にこの今はただの石のお姿ですが、このお姿の中に観音様に来ていただく。そうすることによって今度はこの観音様は石ですけれども、真の仏の目を備え、私たちがどう動いているかも仏はこの目からしっかりと理解し、私たちの願う言葉や祈りの声も全部この仏の耳からちゃんと聞いてくださるようになるんです。
はい、thì buổi ngày hôm nay mọi người đến tham dự lễ khai quang cúng dường điểm nhãn tượng Phật Bà thì là nếu mà chưa điểm nhãn thì nó chỉ là một pho tượng trắng thôi. Sau khi điểm nhãn rồi thì là mọi người
姿が見えないものを私たちは心に思うことがなかなかできないんですね。私たちの心というのは形になったものをしっかりと見ることによって私たちはその心をちゃんと定めることができます。集中することができます。
thì là những cái vật gì mà nó có hình thể hình sắc thì chúng ta có thể cảm nhận bằng ánh mắt hoặc bằng trái tim, cảm nhận được cái hình thể hình sắc đấy.
釈迦牟尼仏、そして観音菩薩様も必ず私たちが拝めば聞いていてくれて見ていてくれてしっかり見守ってくれるのだと思うけれども、家に仏像や仏画があればたくさんの自分の心の内を伝えることもできるでしょう。今は新型コロナの感染症も流行っているので、大人数で一緒に先立った大事な人のことを思って手を合わせることは部屋の中だと難しいことです。でもこうして大きな観音様の姿が皆様に見えるような形でいつ来ても迎えてくれたならば、みんなでいつでも一緒に手を合わせることができます。
Thì với pho tượng Phật Bà Quan Âm như thế này thì chúng ta bất kỳ lúc nào chúng ta có thể đến chùa và lễ bái Quan Âm ở ngoài sân.
そして私たちはこの観音菩薩の前に、今まさにそうですけれども、ベトナム人も日本人もドイツ人も何人も関係なく、みんなで一緒に祈るという行為を通じて心を一つにすることができます。
Thì hôm nay thì là trong cái buổi lễ khai quang cúng dường này thì là không phân biệt là dù là người Nhật hay người Việt hay người Đức hay bất kỳ một quốc gia nào đó, tất cả những người có mặt ở đây chúng ta đều nhất tâm cùng một lòng hướng về cầu nguyện để Đức Phật Bà Quan Âm Bồ Tát chứng tâm cho cái lòng thành đấy.
年齢も性別も国も関係なく一緒に祈るとき、私たちは不思議と心がつながっていきます。
Thì không phân biệt tuổi tác, không phân biệt quốc tịch hay là giới tính thì tất cả chúng ta đều đến và cầu nguyện trước cửa Phật đều là có công đức như nhau.
そして祈る対象である観音菩薩の優しい顔、そして真っ白で清らかな姿を見ながら、皆が一緒に優しい心と清らかな心を取り戻す時間にもなります。
Thì đứng trước tượng Phật Bà Quan Âm Bồ Tát bằng đá trắng này thì sẽ làm cho trái tim của chúng ta trở về cái trạng thái yên bình, trạng thái không bị xáo động.
そして一緒に祈る者同士が、いやこの場にいない多くの困っている方たちのためにみんなで力を合わせ心を合わせて手助けをするような慈しみの心を観音様からいただくことになるでしょう。
Thì dù rằng không tham gia buổi lễ của ngày hôm nay nhưng mà chúng ta tất cả những người có mặt ở đây đều theo cái tấm hạnh của Bồ Tát là luôn luôn nhớ về và nghĩ tới những cái người khó khăn hơn mình và làm những cái việc thiện hoặc là những cái việc mà thiết ích để cứu giúp những cái người mà có hoàn cảnh khó khăn hơn mình. Thì đấy.
優しい気持ちが起きない時もあります。辛いことがあって心がこう下に下がる時もあります。でもそんな時にもこの観音様のお姿を見れば、ああ観音様もまたどんな大変なことがあってもこの頭の上にですね、阿弥陀如来様を乗せています。観音様でさえも疲れることがあるか分かりませんが、阿弥陀如来様のことを思って働いておられる。私たちもいつもお念仏を申しながら阿弥陀如来観音菩薩とともにもっと頑張っていこうという気持ちにもなれます。
Thì cũng giống như chúng ta thì chúng ta bình thường thì trái tim của chúng ta rất là yên bình nhưng mà trong trạng thái bình thường, nhưng mà đôi lúc vì chúng ta là con người có nhiều phiền não, đôi khi nó sẽ làm cho trái tim của mình trở nên có thể là tham sân si. Như vậy cũng giống như Đức Quan Thế Âm Bồ Tát này, ngài ở trên đầu ngài là có Đức A Di Đà, có một cái tượng nhỏ A Di Đà.
あとちょっと打足になりますが、観音様ですけれども名前を付けました。名称観音という名前にしました。
Thì là thầy cũng đã pho tượng Quan Âm này cũng đã có tên do nhà chùa nghĩ ra, đó là Minh Chiếu Quan Âm.
名称とは、実はこの観音様が作られるきっかけになったのは 明徳さんが日本で出家したことが一つの理由ですね。
Thì làm để tạc tham pho tượng này thì cũng là nhân duyên của con xuất gia ở chùa thầy đấy.
ですからこれは明徳さんの名でもあり、そして章は光照院というこのお寺の章ですね。
Thì tên của Quan Âm Bồ Tát ấy thì là được nhắc từ hai chữ Minh là tức là tên pháp danh của con, và chữ Chiếu này tức là tên của chùa là chùa Quang Chiếu Viện.
それからこの名称という文字は今日これから皆さんに読んでいただく観音経というお経の中にも出てきます。
Thì là cái từ Minh Chiếu này nó cũng xuất hiện, thường hay xuất hiện trong cái kinh Phổ Môn chúng ta hay đọc.
そのお経文は誠に清らかな仏の光でもって全てを観音様は照らしてくれる。そのことによって多くの闇を退け、煩悩を退けて全てを明るく照らしてくれるとあります。
Thì là cái từ Minh Chiếu Quan Âm này có nghĩa là lấy trích đoạn trong một cái đoạn kinh của kinh Quan Âm, có nghĩa là Đức Quan Âm sẽ dùng cái ánh
むさぼりや怒りや愚かさ、さまざまな煩悩でいっぱいのこの心を照らして清らかにしてくれる光を頂戴する。そのようなことを願って名称明るく照らしてくださいという観音様です。
Thì trong trái tim của chúng ta thì thường xuất hiện ba cái người ta gọi là tham sân si, đó chính là cái phiền não của chúng ta mà khó có thể nào mà loại bỏ được. Thì chúng ta có thể dùng được cái ánh hào quang của Đức Phật có thể loại bỏ, tiêu trừ đi những cái tham sân si đấy của bản thân mình.
そしてここのお寺の宗派である浄土宗の開いた法然上人の別名も名称と言います。
Thì cũng là một nhân duyên khác, thì là ở cái giáo ở cái tông phái của chùa mình gọi là chùa Tịnh Độ Tông, tông phái Tịnh Độ Tông, thì cái vị sư mà khai sáng ra cái Tịnh Độ Tông này có một cái tên khác cũng chính là Minh Chiếu, ngài Pháp Nhiên Thượng Nhân.
はい、ぜひ皆様も今日からまた心を照らしてもらうつもりで一緒にこれから法要を務めていきましょう。よろしくお願いします。アジダファ
Well, hello everyone, welcome back, and welcome Erika Buffelli.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time again. I'm pleased to have Erika Buffelli here again, who just spent some additional fieldwork time at Koshoin in Tokyo, and I want to take the opportunity to ask her about, you know, the latest developments at the temple. Today you saw the Kannon statue that has been sent from Vietnam to Koshoin by Myotoko's family, and Erika Sensei was actually there when Myotoko-san was ordained, so I just wanted to have a little chat with you. I'm happy to have you here, Erika.
Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, it was really nice to be back in December, because when I left last year, it was after Myotoko ordination, and they were discussing the preparation of the statue. So there was this statue that was due to arrive from Vietnam, and then when I was there in December, I saw the statue. So it was really nice to see the video of when the statue was actually put on the temple for the first time. And I remember that one of the discussion in December 2021 was about the size. That is one of the points that Yoshimitsu also discussed in the video. That is this a too bigger statue for the temple, a safety issue because of earthquake. So how do you make it really stable outside the temple? So I remember all this discussion going on. So it was really nice this time to walk into the garden of the temple and see the statue there. So it was, and I think that the video was for me the connection between these two temporal moments in my fieldwork.
Please tell us about the ordination. How was that?
So the ordination, I think it was in December 2021. And I was invited, and I felt very privileged to be invited. It's usually not one of the ceremonies that only the priest and close family usually, and very few invited guests. It was emotional. It was very interesting to see how all the formality that goes into this ordination ceremony, but also how much the Myotoko, the person involved, was very, very emotional. To have to, talk and chant in front of a group of senior priests, but also a group of family member from the Vietnamese community. So there was this very interesting international presence as well. And also in the celebration before and after, there was this co-presence of Japanese food and Vietnamese food, and presents that were given to the guests that from Vietnam. That was really nice. It was a beautiful ceremony to be present at.
You have to understand, it's quite rare, right, to have a situation where a Vietnamese Buddhist becomes undergoes ordination in Japan, right? And what Yoshimitsu also explains in the video a little bit is that, he brings together these diverse communities in Tokyo. And I think it relates to what we had in the last video, that Koshoin is a place where diverse groups interact with each other, and some of them are also engaged in volunteering. You mentioned of the Vietnamese community. That would be another question I have. Like, how has the pandemic been, considered more recently in Japan compared to the UK, for instance?
So just going back to your first point, the relationship between the Koshoin and Yoshimitsu and the Vietnamese Buddhist community goes back from a few years. So they've been working together. There is a lot of collaboration. And when I first met Saji no Kai in 2019, the first time I went out to do the food distribution with them on a Monday evening, some of the other volunteers were from the Vietnamese community, were students or people working in Vietnam. So there's always been this connection. And the things changed during the pandemic. As we mentioned in the other video, one thing that happened during the pandemic was that a volunteer couldn't be employed anymore. So Saji no Kai has to cut all the volunteer. But at the same time, quite a few members of the Vietnamese community find themselves in a very difficult situation, because quite a lot of people from Vietnam are in Japan through a program which is the technical training program, which is basically quite exploitative program where these people ended up in very difficult working condition. And with the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of them found themselves with no job, no housing, and they couldn't go back to Vietnam because for a while the flights were discontinued. So there was a different type of support that was set up for this community, and there was a big campaign in 2020 launched by Saji no Kai and with other organizations of rice donation. And of the Vietnamese community, for the Vietnamese community, for the people in needs in the Vietnamese communities. What's happening now, one of the temple we can talk a bit more later that was involved as a shelter temple is still one of the main area center of support for Vietnamese communities. In terms of volunteer, Hitosaji no Kai has not restarted yet to use volunteer. When I was there in December, the COVID rates were quite high in Japan at the time. The Japanese media was still showing every day the number of cases comparing to the UK. So at that time, the organization has decided that for now they were still not bringing volunteers back as they used to be in the pre-pandemic time. So it's only a very small number of priests that does the distribution of food. And for now, they are still buying the bento and distributing the bento instead of doing the rice bowl as they used to do before the pandemic. They are discussing, there are a willingness to go back to cooking together, the community together, but it's still under discussion depending on the situation with COVID.
That's very difficult in Japan, right? Everyone probably still wears masks. Is that still the case? All right, okay.
And we were also, anytime that people were entering the center was usually that the bento is prepared before the distribution. We were testing every time. We were lateral flow testing. This actually didn't happen when I was there in 2021 because at the time the number of infection were really, really low. But when I was there in December 2020, we had restarted doing the lateral flow testing just to be sure, because at the time the rates was high again. So it's still an ongoing process because of course for organization working with very vulnerable people they are extra careful when it's come to the pandemic. But one thing I remember when I was there in 2021 that the temple that was which is in the north of Tokyo, it's called Daionji, where a lot of people from Vietnam that were stranded in Japan were sheltered. They were preparing mask to send to Hitosaji no Kai to be distributed to the homeless. So this kind of network of support I think is something quite interesting. Or this kind of building this kind of transnational relationship or support in that sense as well.
And I hope you found some opportunities to also enjoy Christmas, New Year's celebrations in Japan beyond Daionji or Koshoin.
I actually spent Christmas Eve at Koshoin, or just next door to Koshoin, and Kodomo Gokurakudo, because there was the Buddha Santa event. Which
never heard of this before, sorry. I'm lost.
So I spent the day at Koshuin on Christmas Eve because it was the day where one priest from the temple dressed up as Santa Claus and distributed present to the children in the area.
I hope we can add a photo.
By saying Merry Namu Amida Butsu.
Merry Namu Amida Butsu, okay. Not Merry Christmas.
I can send you photos.
Oh, amazing. Oh, good. Fantastic. Yeah, and New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve was on the plane.
Perfect. Again, that's commitment.
Back to Manchester. Yeah.
Good. Erika, thank you so much for taking time again to reflect on this video, bring in your latest, observations. I highly appreciate this. The last video by this time had like 140 views. That cannot be possible. Share this. Use it in class. Tell your friends. Come on. No, I will probably cut this out. But thank you, Erika. It was amazing.
Thank you for inviting me. It was nice to talk to you again.
Next time we'll talk about. The next video I'm just editing will be on an ordination, not an ordination, excuse me, but ceremonies. The next video I'll be doing is about a priest taking over the role as head priest of his family church. So maybe if you're interested, we can have a discussion again, although that's maybe not related to your field work, but still, yeah. All right. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Bye.